Well, okay. Looks like I finally ended up making part 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vocabulary. One of the complaints from last time was that some of the terms that I used weren't Yu-Gi-Oh! Specific, but my counterpoint to that is that if anyone is watching this to learn Yu-Gi-Oh! Terminology, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is their first card game, it doesn't matter where the word comes from, they still need to know what it means. So there's probably going to be some universal card terms in this one too. A few of these will also be Duel Links specific, but you'll know which ones when we get there. Let's start with shotgun. To shotgun a card or effect is to use it at the first possible opportunity you have, usually referring to a quick effect in the draw or standby phase. Sometimes it's an intentional move used to get a priority advantage over your opponent, for example using Abyss Dweller before the main phase to stop any graveyard activations. And other times it's just done out of laziness, like immediately shotgunning out Max C because you're too lazy to hit the no button over and over, waiting for an opponent to commit to summoning.
Please do something!
Not yet!
Or fight back!
Not yet! Kid! Now!
Crash. To crash into a monster is to attack it with a lower attack monster. Ideally, this will be to your benefit, for example, crashing into something with Lyrilusk Recital Starling to make your opponent take the damage, crashing into a monster with Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon to untargeting banish it from the field, or crashing into a monster with Rocket Warrior so you can use his special ability.
Rocket Warrior's special ability! Invincible mode!
You can, however, use it even if you're not getting advantage out of it, like just crash into it to end the game. Beat over. To beat over a monster is to attack it with a higher attack monster. You often see it used when attacking a monster is the best way to remove it. Like, how do I remove towers? Just summon something with 3600 attack and beat over it. To negate. Omni-negate. An omni-negate is any quick effect that can negate anything that was the last thing to just happen. Sometimes it'll specifically list all the card types, sometimes it'll be lazy and just say, if a card or effect happens, just say no. Yes, just say no meme in 2025. Sorry, Duel Links is a bit behind. Most examples like Cyber Dragon Infinity can be chain blocked, but some things like Tachyon Transmigration will just obliterate the entire chain. Chain blocking. The art of doing a bunch of things simultaneously so your opponent can't stop you, or can only stop one of them. Usually this refers to protecting yourself from omni-negates by having multiple effects happen at the same time, and shielding the more important ones by not having them be the last thing to happen in the chain. Glue Eater. Glue Eater decks are the modern Duel Links equivalent of helmet decks. And in case you don't know what helmet decks are decks that are considered so easy to play that they could be played even with a mental disability.
I'm so depressed.
Glue Eater decks in Duel Links specifically refer to decks that are both very one-dimensional and relatively strong because of how much their speed duel skill plays it for them. If you need an example, go to the Duel Links subreddit, type in glue, and let the search engine do its thing. I don't remember if this is used outside of Duel Links, so if you have any examples, please leave them in the comments below. Board Wipe, an effect that literally just clears out your opponent's board. It could be through destruction like Black Rose Dragon, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Shadow Realm / Fortnite. The Shadow Realm is where losers get sent, obviously from the anime.
To the Shadow Realm.
No!
However, if you lost a decade in the years 2018 to 2022, you were instead transported to Fortnite.
Back to Fortnite!
Which is clearly a fate far worse. Effects getting named after other cards. There's a bunch of effects that are just named after the card that's known for doing that thing. This isn't just Yu-Gi-Oh! Specific, but we do have some Yu-Gi-Oh! Specific examples. I'll name a few here, like a deck's Stratos searches the archetype on summon, a Tower's monster is unaffected to effects and has relatively high attack, and to Foolish a card is to send it from the deck to the grave. However, there's like 2 million of these, so you guys can help me in the comments, though many of you guys helped me last time already. If anything, this probably deserves its own video. As a matter of fact, someone's already made one. Turbo Deck. A Turbo Deck has the sole purpose of summoning one hard-to-summon, game-winning monster as fast as possible. Doesn't actually have to be game-winning, you just have to think it is in your heart. Things like Rongo Turbo summoning Rongo Miniad, or Quintet Turbo in Duel Links summoning Quintet Magician. Stun Deck. A stun deck is the opposite of a turbo deck, where instead of making you go as fast as possible, you instead try to make your opponent go as slow as possible. Ideally, a speed of 0. These decks use cards like Mystic Mine, Majesty's Fiend, or in Duel Links, Amano Iwato, to turn your opponent's gameplay flow into concrete.
That's concrete, baby!
Pile deck. A pile deck is a deck that, instead of being built around one or two archetypes like most modern decks, instead incorporates a multitude of small engines and synergies. Something like Earth Machines could be considered a pile deck, as well as some cyber strategies. It is called a pile deck because to an outsider, it kinda just looks like a pile of cards. It also doesn't help that most of them run max or near maximum cards. I'm still not super sure if Adamanticators are a pile deck, because while they do run a bunch of small synergies, they do still revolve around one singular archetype. And that's gonna be it for today. There's still tons more vocab to go over, so leave more suggestions in the comments. There's a bunch in the last video I haven't covered yet as well, so we'll get to those eventually. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.